And welcome to Travel Market Life. I'm your host, Ryan Haynes, as we start to explore what's happening in the industry and how we can recover as the markets start to reopen. Today, we're going to be looking at money, and how you can make sure that your business protects some money from your consumers and how you can ensure that you're placing your money in the right place to make sure it's protected for your cash flow, as well as ensuring that if there are any issues around travel, that you can make those refunds and ensure that no one's left out financially. This has been one of the big issues that we've been dealing with over the last 6 or 7 months, particularly issues around refunds and that availability of cash to companies and where they've been actually storing that money that they've been getting from consumers. And joining me on the line is Jacqui Cleaver, who is a communications director for Protected Trust Services. Hi, Jacqui. Big issue around money at the moment, isn't it? So you've been delving deep into this.
Indeed, every day.
And I mean, you represent quite a number of businesses within the travel space. I mean, you've got over 250 members that represent OTAs, high street agents, home workers, tour operators. Now, what is your role as Protected Trust Services?
We are we're a scaffolding system behind independent travel companies, really. So we ensure that they have complete package travel regulation compliance. We have our PTS platform, so that's the travel software, so they can manage their bookings, their diary, their whole business through the PTS platform. You have currency hedging. We're an ATOL franchise as well, so we can sort out the ATOL. And big thing at the moment, we also offer merchant services as well. So the big thing for us is that we're a scaffolding system for travel businesses so that they are completely secure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big issue. I mean, there's a lot of vulnerability for businesses right now. And because of the amount of uncertainty, it's about how can they protect their business and how can we protect consumers at the same time, as well as their end suppliers. I mean, it's a big supply chain and, you know, where this money is coming and going, it needs to be controlled in some way. Yeah. Tell me first, you know, give me some more information here. What is the package travel regulation compliance?
So the package travel regs, obviously we had our new ones in accordance with the Package Travel Directive in July 2018. It's in essence, if you sell more than 2 elements over 24 hours, and that you have 3 forms of protection that a travel business can choose from. That's bonding, financial failure insurance, or independent trust account and insurance like PTS. So obviously the travel businesses who are with us have adopted the trust account, but there's many travel businesses out there who adopt bond or financial failure insurance, which is completely legal. But alongside that, with the PTRs, it's, like I said, it's a huge document. So I'm really simplifying here for the cause of your, for this is the big thing that's causing a problem is that the principal seller, so the tour op generally, or the ATOL holder, is 100% responsible for giving that money back to the consumers. And actually, legally, it should be within 14 days. But the argument is the PTRs weren't written for something like COVID. So 14 days isn't altogether. To collect those monies off your suppliers, from your suppliers, has not always been within 14 days. But the liability is on you as principal. That is 100%. So to mitigate your risk, you've got to look after consumer monies sensibly to be able to be in a position to give them back.
I mean, this has been some of the issues where the money's been coming in and they've been paying bills immediately that they've had, that money not been stored until the consumer has returned from their holiday. I mean, I went on a ski trip in February, was repatriated, and I got all my money back, which was fantastic. And it was amazing how quick it happened, even though it wasn't within 14 days. Obviously, you understood the situation that we're in, but there were a lot of smaller businesses that were just not able to get hold of that money to return it to their consumers. And many consumers still haven't seen their money returned. They've obviously been claiming on their credit cards or any other way in which they possibly can do through their insurances. And I think, particularly insurance now is going to become more difficult, especially around COVID-19 and any implications because of that. How can they make sure that they ring fence this money so it's not actually spent?
From a business point of view or a consumer?
Yeah, business for the consumer, isn't it?
Well, That is by joining a trust account. There's no two ways. And that's not, for some businesses, when they haven't traded in that manner, one, it appears really daunting. There's all different models of trust accounts. It's not just PTS in the market. Of course, like we're turning out to be one of the leaders now, but there's all different styles of trust account. You can find a trust account to suit your business. You must ensure that there is a separation between consumer money and working capital. Yes, you can pay your suppliers, but consumer money before travel, if you are using that for rent or rates or wages or growth, then it's not from a place of judgment that I say this. It's just you're on very shaky grounds, because you are spending money that, in essence, for the day that comes, like COVID, you have to be in a position to give back. And so it's suddenly you're on quicksand because it's not there. You've spent it, which is all well and good in hindsight to know that, because many companies sit there and go, well, how would we know COVID was coming? And for sure, that's absolutely true. But in travel, there is always something. And
yeah.
And so you can learn from this, and you can get yourself into a stronger position so that when the music stops again, which it will, not necessarily to this level, God willing, it doesn't, but something will happen. And just you're in a position to learn from it and move.
It's not as if things haven't happened over the last 15 years that hasn't given reason to protect their money. Everything from the volcanic ash cloud to devastation in countries across the world where holidays have to be cancelled, or the grounding of flights or cancellation of airlines. These things have always been there, as you say, not on this level, not on this scale, but any company that's dealing with consumer money needs to protect that money. And this has been forefront of consumer issues regarding travel for the last few months, and we're still seeing some of the big players not returning yet the monies. And the conversations that I've had is it time for new technology? Do we need blockchain? Do we need these smart contracts in order to prevent companies taking that money and using it just to keep themselves going, but protecting the investment that everybody's making within the industry? And this is almost, as I understand, when you talk me through about the trust account, you are sort of ring fencing, you are putting it away, and then you are only paying people when it's right to pay people. And this is sort of the essence of what they say are smart contracts, because it's all artificially intelligence led, right? But these things, as you say, they've been in existence for a while. Why do you think that some companies have sort of shied away from doing this? Is it investment? Is it feeling that they have better control, better financial mechanisms internally?
I think it's it's different reasons for different companies, but as a rule, it tends to be, one, there's a real misconception of trust accounts. People think we will strangle them, they will have no control of their company, they would lose control, lose transparency. At PTS, it couldn't be further from the truth. We work with each member to be able to make sure it's, they are completely in control of their finances. We only make any moves that they ask us to make. I think the other reason as well is, if a company had the choice between FFI, bonding or trust accounts, they would see it that if they use consumer money as working capital, they've got themselves into that
habit. Yeah.
Now, how do you get out of that cycle unless suddenly you have to get out of that cycle? And sort of what we were really fearful of for many years was something like COVID would happen. And so from our point of view, we were saying, you've got to be so careful trading her, because something big could happen, not knowing it would be COVID, but it was inevitably going to be something that would come from left wing. You only have to look at history to know it will happen. And so, now I think people chose, if you have access to the client money, then to some companies that is preferable.
Oh, absolutely, because it's an opportunity to invest in something if you want to grow, if you want to scale. But as you say, you're putting that money at complete risk. I mean, one of the things that you mentioned is that you've experienced quite a bit of growth over the last few years, and this has been accelerated in the last few months as a result of COVID. What sort of reasons are people now turning to this? I mean, one of the big issues last year was the fall of Thomas Cook, and we've seen other agents as well fall. And I guess that it's those that actually make the bookings as well that need to protect themselves on behalf of their consumers, like the home workers and the high street agents.
Yeah, I mean, people are moving over for all different reasons, really. I think the major value that they're seeing is control and transparency, but control is 100% the leading factor. People want control to compartmentalize their business, to get security, to get solid foundations so that they can move forward. I think COVID, for a plethora of different reasons, has absolutely scared the living daylights out of most, well, probably all directors of travel companies. And the ones that can move forward, they're embracing trust now, and for their consumers as well. There's no doubt that COVID has raised awareness to consumers of how the travel industry and how travel businesses work. And, if you actually ask consumers, if you go to a travel agent, what do you think happens to your money? Well, 9 times out of 10, they will say, well, that travel agent books the hotel, books the flight, books the transfer. Well, 9 times out of 10 currently, no, that is not how it works. There's a lot of companies outside of trust. I'm not saying they have to be a PTS member to do that. Some leading high street agents who follow a trust model, and they do fulfill the package. But there's many who don't. Consumers find it absolutely astounding that they're not getting refunds at the moment.
And there is this whole idea that, because a lot of people have moved to this sort of self-booking, and they don't realize that they don't have that level of protection as you would do if you had booked it with a provider, or booked a full package, that you get the ATOL protection in place. Yeah. And now there's a lot more focus on people purchasing these ATOL protected holidays, because at least they get the money back. They're much more aware of that compared to just booking their own trips, their own flights, their own hotels on different portals, where effectively they can very easily lose the money unless that company themselves are adapting and changing their refund policy. I mean, we've already seen that airlines are removing a lot of the charges when it comes to changing the date for your trip, for example, which they never used to do. But obviously they want to try to keep that customer as much as possible. But with this amount of impact, because there's so much pressure and because there's so much money that need to be returned, is there going to be a future for ATOL? Is it going to continue, or is it a possibility that it's just not able to sustain this in long term?
There is always going to be a need for ATOL. I mean, the Civil Aviation Authority, they are really trying their best, and I've actually seen how much they've helped our members and been on the end of a phone, and they're processing a lot of ATOLs to get people to move over. Do you know that they are doing so much to be able, but there's only so much manpower on the flip side of that, so there is always going to be a need for ATOL. Is it going to change? I think if ATOL looks at it, if the CAA look at it and go, we're supposed to be a fallback, not it. We're not supposed to solve all of these problems. Is there enough money in the ATT? Are we going to see rises in fees to the Air Travel Trust? Are we going to see? I don't know. But
I mean, you say these are things that we could expect.
A lot of money to back up all these, but it needs to be there. ATOL needs to be there.
And what sort of problems could that need to be alleviated in the industry to make this more effective? I mean, is there any sort of securities that need to be put in place, or criteria that companies should meet in order to sell holidays in some way?
I think we only take on, as you know, experienced travel professionals. You have to have experience to join PTS, but we don't offer academies or anything like that. So I think if there should be some kind of requirement that if you're going to sell travel, then you should have either, if you're going independent, like with our members, you have experience. You know what you're talking about. And if you want to come into the travel market, then you have to join a registered company that offers academies that are truly going to train people. I find it astounding, and something I've always said is the amount of travel agents who don't understand package travel regulations. And it doesn't need to be the whole document. It's arduous, it's boring, I get it. We have to understand that, but there must be a general understanding. But there are a lot who do. And my true feeling is, my true belief is that I watch a lot of people from afar on travel gossip, travel rants and raves, or speak to them in the industry, our members, whoever else. Travel professionals, true travel professionals, are like encyclopedias. It's insane. The hotels they know, the product they know, the transfer companies they know, the airports, the flight paths, the times. They are like encyclopedias of knowledge. It's amazing how much a true travel professional knows about their product. And I firmly believe that the value of a well-qualified, educated travel agent that consumers can have a personal, independent relationship with, whether that is home workers or a high street store, or just someone they physically speak to. I think it's the OTAs that have got to be very careful that they don't lose their market, because the second you treat a consumer as a number and don't treat them fairly, you lose them. The travel industry is too competitive. We're massively competitive. So, I think there is going to be an absolute resurgence and a comeback for the true travel professionals, the true travel agents, and there are a lot out there. And
I mean, we're starting to see a bit more of a hybrid approach now, where you are seeing traditional high street agents offering their packages online, but then having that point of call. The opportunity to pick up the phone and have that conversation. I mean, one of the biggest kickbacks over the last few months is the fact that no one can actually speak to anyone at some of the larger OTAs.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Live chat, or they go on hold for 3 hours and then get cut off. There's something to be said for some of our members. I watch it, but they have wonderful relationships with their clients, and it's not just our members. I watch it on the forums. There's some amazing travel professionals out, and I really truly believe consumers will start going to them, especially with the likes. I mean, just recently, the launch of EasyJet holidays. Everyone's got capacity to access that. It's not necessarily now that OTAs will get it cheaper. The travel professionals could do it as well.
And this is one thing that is missing, because there is all this idea about rate parity, which is a challenge for a lot of suppliers needing to match what they're providing to OTAs. But as you say, sort of like, if you're going direct to someone, having that conversation, there's more flexibility on price sometimes and the type of packages that you can buy. But one of the key things that is coming out from this conversation is this idea of trust, building that confidence with the consumer, making them feel like they're going to be safe with their travel booking, they're going to be safe with the money that they're investing, and most importantly, that they're going to be communicated to as and when things change, and if there are any problems with their booking.
Yeah, it's so true. And I don't have a crystal ball, none of us do, but I 100% believe that the value of a travel professional, or at least that a consumer can call someone and understand where their money is and understand that they're going to be looked after, and they speak to a physical human being, that is hands down going to win. And that's sort of it. Right from March, we've always sort of said, anyone who comes through COVID, what is going to get everyone through COVID is integrity and forbearance. They're the two things. And if you treat your clients with both those things, and suppliers, and your protection model, whatever it is, everyone, the whole system, the whole cycle, if you do it with integrity and you have some forbearance, and that's the two things, you're going to fly after COVID. And I appreciate that after COVID seems like a long way away at the moment. You know, we keep moving, don't we? It will be July, it will be September, but there will be an end. There will. And the ones that are companies that have shown integrity and have treated their partners, suppliers, their consumers, their clients well will bounce. They will come back.
Another thing as well, although we don't want it to be delayed, it gives you that time to be able to prepare for when it does return. It allows you to get those mechanisms, those technologies, those systems all in place to make sure that you are ready for the tomorrow. Now, Jacqui, I mean, when it comes to travel, you've got a family yourself. How do you decide when and where to book and how to identify the best provider for you? Do you have a particular person pick a company that you go to, or a person, or how do you go about booking that trip and ensuring that you've got that safety and security there?
All different, actually, to be honest. So we were really lucky. We travelled the beginning part. Our family, our children especially, love skiing. So we did that before COVID. I used to live in Canada, so we tend to go and see my friends in Canada as well. And luckily we did that in February, January and February. So that was quite lucky. If I'm honest, I book things, I personally, if I could, I'd travel. I would have gone in the summer. We just couldn't because we're too busy with work, actually. That was the only reason we didn't go. But I don't know. To be honest, with us as a family, you've got to think, I work a lot with tourist boards. You see different things, and then we book it. I can speak to all the suppliers and go, which are the best rates and what do we do? I don't have a preference because I think some of them, they're all quite amazing, to be honest, in different fields, and it moves. Sometimes one's better at the States or Florida at some point, and then, you know, someone's better at the Indian Ocean at that point. And I speak to our members as well. They'll tell us what they do.
And you say there's so many options out there and so many different providers. Sometimes it's worth going to that specialist rather than the generalist. And I often find that the specialists are the ones who protect their business in the right way as well. They're more likely to go that this is a niche, this is who we're servicing, and we need to protect their investment, the consumer's investment. And it has been interesting when I speak to those specialist companies about how they deal with those things. And I think you see it currently as well. Some of those more specialist businesses are faring so much better than the companies who've just gone for the generic mass volume sales.
Because also if they specialise, then they'll probably have much more direct, closer relationships with their suppliers, with their consumers. Do you know that specialist in one, it keeps their portfolio so much smaller, doesn't it? So the relationships will tend to be stronger.
And as you say, this is where the trust account can come in as well. That your suppliers can have confidence that you have invested in a system, a financial system that is going to protect that money going in and out of the business.
And also our members, whether they're specialists, we've got umpteen tour operators that are really niche. Do you know, from just specialising in orangutans in Borneo to other ones that just specialise with the gorillas in Rwanda. Do you know? And then you've got your safari companies, your ski companies, your golf companies, your health and wellbeing companies, you know, but they still have a niche. It's just probably global that they're doing it. But then you've got the travel agents that are incredibly generic. But then, and some of them, but then with travel agents, some of them specialise with honeymoons, or some of them specialise with luxury travel, and some of them specialise just with bucket and spade family holidays. But you've got travel agents are incredibly generic. But that's what I was saying earlier about a true travel agent. By God, they know their stuff. They'd absolutely blow me out of the water. I call them and say, "What's that resort like?" Because I look up. They can call me about PTRs, and I will call them about resorts. They will know. I haven't been there.
And that's the one thing, as you say, that you guys have read all the regulations inside out, all the compliance. You're there to support travel companies and making sure that the monies are protected, that they have the right systems in place. And what's the best way for them to get in contact with Protected Trust Services?
So they can come to our website, which is www.protectedtrustservices.com. They could email us on ask@protectedtrustservices.com. Or they can call us as well, 0207 190 9988. We've also got a page on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all for Protected Trust Services. We're always updating on those. So they can always contact us on those. But yeah, just give us a call. We give so much complimentary advice all the time. Whether people choose to join us or not, we're really happy to advise people on, right, tell us where you're at. We want to understand your current position. Fine, it might not be for PTS, might not be for you, but have you tried such and such? And so we do that a lot as well.
Excellent. Jacqui, thank you very much for taking me through all of that. It was really insightful, and the time you took with me as well when we had our first chat a few weeks ago. And I really hope that we can actually meet up in person, since we're both based in Bournemouth. I'm self-isolating after Spain, so I'm devastated that we couldn't do this as my first live in-room interview, but hopefully we can have that physical connection very soon.
Yeah, next time. Definitely. Thank you for inviting me, Ryan. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So that was Jacqui Landon, who is the Communications Director for Protected Trust Services. Check out our other episodes of Travel Market Life on travelmarket.life. We've got a couple of new episodes and series for you that is available for you to check out now, including the Hotel Tech Clinic and a new series coming very soon, Hotelier's Voice, where we get insights into the new technology and platforms that they're using and how they're getting their teams to adapt in a more digital sector. Thanks for joining. My name's Ryan Haynes.